Ladies and gentlemen, the proclamation. All persons having any business before this honorable court now draw nigh. Give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Admission of lawyers. Haya Emma Albaker.
Let Haya Emma Albaker be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Fatima El-Rubai.
Let Fatima El-Rubai be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Connor Stephen Barham.
May it please the court, I move that Connor Stephen Barham be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Connor Stephen Barham be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexandra Kate Bainan.
May it please the court, I move that Alexandra Kate Bannon be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alexandra Kate Bayon be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jonty Robert Donald Bosher.
May it please the court, I move that Jonty Robert Donald Bosher be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jonty Robert Donald Bosher be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Johnson Chen.
May it please the court, I move that Johnson Chen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Johnson Chen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Siobhan Kelly Deacon.
May it please the court, I move that Siobhan Kelly Deacon be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Siobhan Kelly Deacon be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Kane Elder.
May it please the court, I move that Kane Elder be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Kane Elder be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexa Jane Elliott.
May it please the court, I move that my daughter Alexa Jane Elliott be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alexa Jane Elliott be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ashley Louise Frost.
May it please the court, I move that Ashley Frost be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ashley Louise Frost be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Yi Xuan Ho.
May it please the court, I move that Yishuan Ho be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Yishuan Ho be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Patrick John Kramer.
May it please the court, I move that Patrick John Kramer be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Patrick John Kramer be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Tommy Lee.
May it please the court, I move that Tommy Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Tommy Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Mimi Ray Chen Lee.
May it please the court, I move that Mimi Roicheng Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Mimi Ray Chen Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Angelica Leviste.
May it please the court, I move that Angelica Leviste be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Angelica Leviste be admitted as lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of swearing an oath or making a declaration that all those being admitted today stand up, but please remain in your current place. Would all admittees please stand?
Haya Emma Albecker. Fatima El-Rubai. Connor Stephen Barham. Alexandra Kate Bainan. Jonty Robert Donald Bosher. Johnson Chen. Siobhan Kelly Deacon. Kane Elder. Alexa Jane Elliott. Ashley Louise Frost. Yi Xuan Ho. Patrick John Kramer. Tommy Lee. Mimi Ray Chen Lee. Angelica Leviste. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill, and ability. Will you please say, "So help me God," or "I do"? Would you please be seated?
Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today, to my right, is Justice Bell, who is the President of the Court of Appeal, and on my left, Justice Lonergan, who is a Judge of the Common Law Division. Together, we constitute the court that has, in exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations and acknowledge with deep regret the role our legal system has had in perpetrating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You have all worked extremely hard to get here, through caffeine-fueled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbook and more cases than you can ever hope to remember. Rest assured, for those of you with a bibliophobia, that is a fear of running out of reading material, as lawyers that fear will never materialise. You have entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered the mysterious reasonable person, and have learned to understand that the Constitution means a bit more than just the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admissions oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830, the names of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of this tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or for your family and friends, that is how long it feels like you've been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those here with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends would have been invaluable. No doubt, they've also often been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I do hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, or an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity, and your commitment to justice. It is an acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, and even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I do recall on one occasion some years ago, a young member of the audience asked if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was terribly sorry to disappoint. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession is changing. You'll be unsurprised to hear that over the past 2 years, we had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom settings to ensure access to justice continued in the midst of a pandemic. It goes smoothly, as those with me on the bench can undoubtedly attest to. There have been real difficulties of open justice, effective communication, and fairness to participants. And occasionally a lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. The challenges we face, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural or remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you are at the forefront of innovation in the law, opportunities to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we have come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all solicitors with a practising certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court and amongst, for example, barristers in speaking roles in the High Court of Australia. On the other hand, it is heartening to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession for people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we'll only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who have been around for as long as me. And you only need to look around at the paintings on the wall and then at your fellow admittees to see that this is so. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out against unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws, or systemic failings affecting our society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction it will take. As a lawyer, you will need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regard to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say there are only a handful of lawyer jokes. The rest are true stories. But jokes aside, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court, the administration of justice, and other ethical duties you must uphold. Now that you are lawyers, you can get paid to argue instead of just arguing for free. Of course, there is a lot more to it than that. You're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must strive to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions for the same reason, no matter who asks the question or for what purpose and in what context the asking may occur." That is foundational to upholding the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the sole object of ensuring that no one can understand it. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I sprinkle in that Latin phrase? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? The answer to these questions is obviously no. The best advocates can make their points simply and succinctly. Now, from reading the law reports, you will know that some of the most experienced lawyers and judges could also use that reminder from time to time, but don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I'd not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points in your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity, and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can, and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. What is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. Now, I myself have made many mistakes over the years, too many for me to remember, although my colleagues take delight in reminding me of some of them. And even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasions been successfully appealed to the High Court, usually, I'm happy to say, by majority judgments. At that point, I'm probably obliged to grit my teeth and tell myself that it's not a fiction that the High Court is never wrong. But in fact, at times, even dissenting High Court judgments become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. This might sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or take a step back when you need to. And also remember that the law is a collegiate profession, and in times of difficulties, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. I found that out throughout my career. Now, although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case, and I lost many more after that. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers on my floor to share my disappointment at the unfairness of the verdict, the sly tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. Now, I hasten to add, I do not include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly those sitting with me today, can I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The court will now adjourn.
All stand. This honourable court is now adjourned. God save the Queen.
I'll leave that with you.
Yes, please leave it. So you are coming back at 11.
Yeah.
So whole day you will be here.
I'm here.
Okay.
To avoid having to sit through the whole speech, do we just walk out through that door?
Yes.
Just behind you?